This video will explain the basic rules for playing time editors. In this game, players are in a race to become the single world task force of time editors and keep control of their use of time travel. The goal of the game is to be the first player to prevent 4 disasters in the past and receive 4 time edit achieved cards. For a shorter game, you may play to 3 cards. There are 2 phases to a player's turn: the space travel phase and the time travel phase. During the space travel phase, you may move space freighters, make one buy, or play one card. These actions may be done in any order. During the time travel phase, you may time travel once. The time travel phase must always be done last. Once a player time travels, their turn is over. There are 2 types of resources in the game. Selenium is a rare element capable of producing wormholes. Selenium will be used in the game to open wormholes through space, or to open wormholes for traveling through time. Tauronite is our galaxy's currency in the 25th century. Tauronite will be used in the game to purchase items and to pay specialists. Resources are found on other planets and are obtained through mining. Remember, the further a planet is from Earth, the richer its mining deposits. 2 resource cubes for the inner planets, 5 for the middle planets, and 9 for the outer planets. Brown planets are barren and do not produce any resources. Purple planets produce selenium. Mine 2, 5, or 9 resource cubes. White planets produce tauronite. Mine 2, 5, or 9 resource cubes. Purple planets with this symbol produce selenium and may be surface mined. You do not need to build a mining colony on these planets, and anyone can collect resources here. White planets with this symbol produce tauronite and may also be surface mined. You do not need to build a mining colony on these planets, and anyone can collect resources here. Light purple planets with this symbol produce +1 selenium, for a total of 3, 6, or 10. Bright white planets with this symbol produce +1 tauronite, for a total of 3, 6, or 10. Blue planets are multis, and produce both tauronite and selenium. Collect any combination of resources. For example, you may collect 6 tauronite cubes and 3 selenium cubes on an outer planet. Space freighters are used to discover planets, transport mining colonies, and transport resources. Space freighters may be moved 1 space per turn in any direction using their normal warp drive. Moving an additional 1 to 2 spaces on the same turn is possible if wormholes are used. To open a wormhole, you must have the Science Specialist tile in your Earth inventory. Specialists will be explained in detail later in this video. To open a Class 1 wormhole, pay 1 cube of selenium. Place your wormhole tiles between Earth and an inner planet. You may now move through the wormhole, in addition to your normal move of 1 space, for a total of 2 spaces in 1 turn. You can move through a wormhole in either direction, but one end of the wormhole must always be at Earth. To open a Class 2 wormhole, pay 2 cubes of selenium. Place your wormhole tiles between Earth and a middle planet. You may now move through the wormhole in addition to your normal move of 1 space, for a total of 3 spaces in 1 turn. Once again, you can move through the wormhole in either direction, but one end of the wormhole must always be at Earth. If you wish to move a second freighter through the same wormhole, you must pay a tax. The tax is 1 cube of tauronite each time you travel through a Class 1 wormhole, or 2 cubes of tauronite each time you travel through a Class 2 wormhole. Taxes are not considered a buy. Any wormholes that you open on your turn will stay open until the start of your next turn. At the beginning of your next turn, remove the wormhole tiles from the board. If you want to keep any of your wormholes open, pay the normal cost of opening the wormhole and leave the tiles on the board. On their turn, players may travel through wormholes opened by other players, as long as they pay the tax for every ship traveling through the wormhole. In this example, the gray player opened a Class 2 wormhole on their turn. The blue player may travel through the gray player's wormhole on their turn if they pay 2 cubes of tauronite. A natural wormhole is a wormhole that is always open. There are 3 possible places they can occur in a game. When a natural wormhole is on the inner ring, you can jump through it to reach one of 3 middle planet locations in a single turn. Pay 1 cube of tauronite as a tax to the bank. When a natural wormhole is on a middle ring, you can jump through it to reach one of 5 possible locations in a single turn: 3 outer planet locations and 2 middle planet locations. Pay 2 cubes of tauronite as a tax to the bank. When a natural wormhole is on an outer ring, you can jump through it to reach one of 5 possible locations in a single turn: 2 outer planet locations and 3 middle planet locations. Pay 2 cubes of tauronite as a tax to the bank. The game begins with all planet tiles undiscovered. When you land next to a planet tile, you have the option to reveal the tile or leave the planet undiscovered. If you reveal a purple or white planet tile while carrying a mining colony in your space freighter, you have the option to build the colony on that planet. When you place a colony on a planet, you immediately collect the number of resource cubes produced by that planet. In this example, the player will collect a total of 5 selenium cubes. You must return the resources to Earth to be refined before you can use them. When you reach Earth, place the resources directly into your Earth inventory along with the freighter. Once the resources are in your Earth inventory, they are available for use. You may not pick up another load of resources from the same colony with the same freighter until you've unloaded your cargo at Earth. You may, however, pick up from the same colony using another freighter. You may pick up resources from multiple colonies using the same freighter as long as the total number of resource cubes is not greater than 7. For example, the same freighter may pick up from 2 inner colonies before returning to Earth with a total of 4 resource cubes. The same freighter may pick up from an inner colony and a middle colony before returning to Earth with a total of 7 resource cubes. If you're unhappy with the placement of a mining colony, you may destroy it in order to rebuild on another planet. On your turn, remove the mining colony from the planet tile and place it back in the bank. You must pay 5 tauronite cubes to repurchase it. Once repurchased, place the new colony in your Earth inventory. You may transport the colony on the same turn it was purchased if you have an empty space freighter in your Earth inventory that has not yet moved. There are 4 things that will always end the movement of a space freighter. They are revealing a planet tile, starting a mining colony, picking up resources from a mining colony, or reaching Earth. Each player has a player mat. On the right side is the Earth inventory, on the left side is the timeship inventory. Any resources and specialists in the Earth inventory are in the present and can only be used in the present. Any resources and specialists in the timeship inventory are in the past and can only be used in the past. You begin the game with all 4 specialist tiles in your Earth inventory. These tiles represent 4 specialist groups: a group of science specialists, a group of technology specialists, a group of military specialists, and a group of politics specialists. When the science specialist is in the present, you will be able to open wormholes on the main board for quicker space travel. When the science specialist is in the past, they will send you 1 selenium cube from the past at the beginning of your space travel phase. You will receive this benefit on every turn the science specialist is in the past. When the technology specialist is in the present, you will be able to play statistician cards, which will give you the probability of creating a time ripple for one particular event. When the technology specialist is in the past, they will allow you to know possible future actions and to avoid them if so desired. Look at the top card in the action card deck. You may choose to keep the card on top or place it at the bottom of the deck. You may use this ability at the beginning of your space travel phase on any turn that the technology specialist is in the past. When the military specialist is in the present, you will be able to play action cards, which may give help to your nation, hurt another nation, or do both. When the military specialist is in the past, they will allow you to know possible future actions and make sure that you control them. You may look at the top card in the action card deck and pay 2 tauronite cubes to reserve the card if you so desire. You must still actually purchase the card before you can play it. You may reserve cards at the beginning of your space travel phase on any turn that the military specialist is in the past. Any reserved cards count toward your 2-action card hand limit. When the politics specialist is in the present, you will be able to purchase items and cards. When the politics specialist is in the past, they will send you 2 Tauronite cubes from the past at the beginning of your space travel phase. You will receive this benefit on every turn the politics specialist is in the past. Above each player mat is a timeline. Each timeline is a unique mission. The first column lists the disaster you're trying to prevent. Columns 2 through 5 list 4 specific events that historians believe contributed in part to causing the disaster. It is not certain which event has the greatest causal effect on the timeline. Each event has an icon representing one type of specialist. Only the type listed on that column may attempt to change that particular event. You may time travel only once per turn with your time ship. One time travel is any of the following: from the present to one past event on the timeline, from one past event on the timeline to another past event on the timeline, or from one past event on the timeline to the present. Each time travel uses up 1 cube of Zelenium. You may travel to a maximum of 4 past events before you must return to the present. This is indicated by the spaces on your player mat. You are not allowed to time travel to the past if you do not have 1 cube of Zelenium stored in your time ship for the return journey to the present. If you wish to time travel on your turn, you must decide how many specialists to take with you to the past. You may take 1 to 4 specialist types in your time ship, but you must also take enough resources in your time ship to pay 3 cubes of Tauronite each time a specialist acts to change the past. Let's go through a scenario to help explain the process of changing the past. Let's say I've chosen to take the military specialist and science specialist to the past. By doing so, I will lose the ability to open wormholes in the present and the ability to play action cards. I will need a total of 3 Selenium cubes, 1 for each past event they are traveling to, and 1 for the return journey to the present. I will need a total of 6 Tauronite cubes, 3 for each time a specialist acts to change the past. I can time travel to the event on the timeline that has the military icon or the event that has the science icon. I choose to use my military specialist first. I pay 1 cube of Selenium to open a wormhole and move my time ship to the timeline. I pay 3 cubes of Tauronite for the acting military specialist. Next, I read the entire timeline aloud to the other players, and then I explain what my specialist is going to do to change the past event. This is where creative storytelling can be lots of fun. I then pull a random tile from my bag and place it on the hexagon space for that event. If I pull a tile marked NR, there is no ripple effect through time, and the disaster in column 1 still occurs. This means that either the specialist failed in their attempt, or they were successful, but the disaster still happens because there are other events that continue to cause it. You or the other players may feel free to come up with a plausible reason why the attempt was unsuccessful. If you pull a tile marked R from the bag, there is a ripple effect through time, and the disaster in column 1 is prevented from happening. Immediately draw a time edit achieved card and place it next to your player mat. Place all time ripple tiles back in your bag. Remove the time ship from the timeline and place it next to your player mat. This indicates that your time ship is still at the past event you just changed. Draw a new timeline from the stack and place it on top of the old timeline. On the time travel phase of your next turn, you may move your time ship to the new timeline and attempt to change it if you have the necessary resources to do so. You may use any of the specialists in your time ship, even the ones that acted on the last timeline. The player furthest behind then draws a covert event card and reads the card aloud to the other players. The action listed on the card must be completed immediately. Once completed, place the card in the discard pile. You may make only 1 buy during the space travel phase of your turn. Remember, to make a buy, you must have the politics specialist in the present. You start the game with 1 space freighter, but you can purchase a second freighter for 5 cubes of Tauronite. If a freighter is destroyed during the game, you can buy another. You start the game with 2 mining colonies, but you can purchase a third colony for 5 cubes of Tauronite. If any of your colonies are destroyed during the game, you can buy another. To buy 1 card costs 4 cubes of Tauronite. You may play only 1 card during the space travel phase of your turn. There are 2 types of cards that may be played. statistician cards, and action cards. Remember, to play a statistician card, you must have the technology specialists in the present, and to play an action card, you must have the military specialists in the present. Cards may be played on the turn they are purchased, or they can be kept face down next to your player mat to be used on a later turn. You can hold a maximum of 2 action cards at a time, and a maximum of 2 statistician cards at a time. The statistician can look at the historical record and give you the probability of creating a time ripple through time when changing an event on the timeline. When you play this card, choose one event on the timeline, pull one time ripple tile from the bag and place it on the hexagon space for that event. If the time ripple tile is marked NR, you know that attempting to change this event will have no effect on the timeline and that you do not need to travel to this event. If the time ripple tile is marked R, you know that changing this event will have an effect on the timeline. You must still time travel to the event and change it with your specialist. You can do this on the same turn that you used the statistician card if you have the resources to time travel. Do not receive a time edit achieved card until you have time traveled to the event, paid your specialist, and explained what they're going to do to change the event. The statistician card can be cancelled out by the mind wipe or action card. When you purchase an action card, pick the top 3 cards from the deck. Choose one of them to keep and place the others face down at the bottom of the deck. There are 14 different types of action cards. For details on each card, please consult the official rulebook. You've just finished the basic tutorial for playing time editors. For a complete set of rules, please download our official rulebook. Thanks for watching and don't forget to share.